BJP's three main goals when it comes to electoral politics has always been abrogation of Article 370, building Ram Temple in Ayodhya and bringing uniform civil code for the country. Article 370 they have abolished, Ram Temple they have constructed, and now uniform civil code is underway. Whether you like it or not, uniform civil code is sure to come and here to stay. In this video, we are going to talk about the first step of how uniform civil code is making its way into the country. It has started in Uttarakhand, and surely it is going to spread to other parts of the country where the BJP is currently ruling, and sooner than later it is going to be brought by the union government in such a way that it applies to whole of India. That is sure to happen. So when that is the scenario, let's see what Uttarakhand's uniform civil code is like, what it says, what are the problematic areas in that, like what should be changed in that, should it be there or should it not be there, uniform civil code. So this video is going to talk about that. And when I say we are going to talk about uniform civil code, it is not going to be like uniform civil code is all good, it is going to be extremely fantastic for the country, or it is not going to be something like uniform civil code is all bad, it should not at all exist in the country. It is not that sort of video. This is going to be something in the middle. So if you have not subscribed to Youturn, please subscribe and watch this video fully. This is Youturn. I'm Ramasamy Jayaprakash. For far too long in the country, the debate about uniform civil code has always been charged with emotions. It was not backed by specific points. It has always been emotionally charged debates, with one side vehemently defending it and other side vehemently opposing it. Both sides did not have any specific thing in their hand to support or oppose. That has always been the case because we did not have any draft version to make a point. It was always under assumptions. This is going to be extremely good or this is going to be extremely bad. We are always based on assumptions. Some assumptions went to such an extent that if uniform civil code comes, people of the minority communities will not even be able to worship their own God, worship the way that they want. They will no longer be allowed to go to their place of worship. It has always been in that scenario. That kind of fear was there. And now that Uttarakhand has produced its version of uniform civil code, we have something concrete, something on paper to look at and see, objectively analyze what is right, what is wrong, how it is affecting certain people. Before looking into Uttarakhand civil code, one thing needs to be addressed, and that is uniform civil code should not be a taboo topic. Uniform civil code is something that is enshrined in the constitution. Article 44 of the constitution says that the state should strive to bring uniform civil code. When it is said in the constitution that uniform civil code should be enforced in the country, should be brought for the country, it is not something to be completely shunned. At the same time, when it comes to uniform civil code, it should have one specific thing, and that one specific thing is it should be progressive, it should be uniform, and it should not be based on any religion. It should have progressive values of the 21st century, and it should be in a position to take us into the next century, next for years to come, for decades to come, for centuries to come. This uniform civil code should be ready for that. And it should be brought out in such a way that we build a consensus among our citizens. We should have a discussion and debate which is open and fair, without any kind of false narratives, without any kind of fear mongering, without any kind of blanket opposition or blanket support. Like blind support and blind opposition should not be there. And we should have some kind of public participation where everybody's needs are addressed in such a way that it is done with some kind of empathy and some kind of emotional intellect. Emotional quotient should be there when we address this particular topic. Without doing that, bringing uniform civil code with a sense of victory over the minorities, or with the sense of Hindu triumphalism, or with the sense that I'm getting one up, I'm going one up on you. It should not have that sort of narrative. Unfortunately, that is the kind of narrative that is preventing the public or preventing everyone from looking into it objectively, looking into uniform civil code without emotions, looking into uniform civil code with clarity. It is a major disservice to the constitution, I must say. So now let's get into Uniform Civil Code that is brought out by Uttarakhand. What is the main problematic thing in that? Uttarakhand's Uniform Civil Code is split into four major parts. First one talks about marriage and divorce, and second one talks about succession, third one is about live-in relationships, and fourth one is miscellaneous. Let's talk about live-in. What it says about live-in relationships. It does not outrightly ban live-in relationships. That is a good thing. But what it does is it asks people who are in live-in relationship to register it with the registrar, and it applies to all people of Uttarakhand. And anybody who's not staying in Uttarakhand but stays some other part of India, say Chennai, but they are originally from Uttarakhand, they have their address proofs, ration cards, everything in Uttarakhand. Even if they live in Chennai or any other part of the country, they are still supposed to register if they happen to be in a live-in relationship. That is the tip of the iceberg, because what it basically does is it is another version of getting them to almost get registered married. Like if they are going to register a live-in relationship, they might as well register it as a marriage. Why this is needed? Because it is their choice. They are consenting adults who have crossed the age threshold. They should be able to live their life as they please. If they choose to marry, that is their thing. If they choose not to marry, that is their problem. But forcing that they have to register is completely problematic. And if they don't, the state can give out punishments. They can be put behind bars for 3 months or charged a fine of 10,000 rupees, or it could be both also. It is up to the discretion of the court. The court can choose to give both. So that is there. And apart from this punishment, what happens if they register? If live-in partners register, that statement of registration goes to the local police station. Why? If a marriage is done, if a registered marriage or some kind of marriage is done, is that marriage certificate sent to the local police station? No. But for this live-in relationships, the statement is being sent to the local police station. This will eventually lead the doors open. It will open the doors for harassment by the police. Law enforcement officers can harass the couples who are in live-in relationships. And if the registrar has any suspicion regarding the people who are in live-in relationships and they come for registration, if the registrar has any suspicion with the details that they provided, the registrar can initiate police action. He or she can call the local police and get them involved and take action. If any one person in the live-in relationship is below 21 years of age and they come for getting their live-in relationship registered, in such a case, the registrar can call the parents of this particular couple. Why that is required? Why is it the business of the registrar to call the parents? Because if a man is above 21 years of age, if the man has crossed 21 years of age and if the woman has crossed 18 years of age, they are eligible to marry. If they choose to get registered marriage, they can get married. But if they choose to live in relationship, if they choose to have that, the boy is over 21 years of age, say 22, and the girl is 19 or 20. In such a case, the registrar can call in the parents. For such age couple, they are eligible to marry, but they are not eligible to have a live-in relationship. Why is that? All these are extremely problematic and they are all regressive. And apart from being regressive, it also has one important problem, that is it leads to vigilantism, or it could potentially lead to vigilantism. And this is not something out of unreasonable fear. We have seen Gau Rakshaks, cow protectors. These cow protectors arm themselves with sticks and stones and even in many cases guns, machine guns also. And they go and stop any vehicle that passes through the highway or the roads that they choose, and they do their own checking. They are not any law enforcement officers, they are not the police, they are not the army, but they still conduct searches. And if a vehicle chooses not to stop when they stop, when these Gaurakshas stop their vehicle, it ensues a hot pursuit and a shootout. They shoot the vehicle, they shoot the people, they beat the people out, and some are even getting killed. That is how violent these cow vigilantes have become. And we have seen many instances of that in the past, and in many cases, people in their homes, they are dragged out and beaten and killed because of a mere suspicion that they had beef. Such is the nature of vigilantism that is going on. Apart from that, there are people who harass couples, especially during the Valentine season that we live in today. Like, we are in the Valentine week, and many people are harassing couples. It has been, we have a long history of vigilantes and, so-called cultural protectors getting into this act of protecting the culture by forcing couples to marry. In some cases, they are not even legally eligible to marry. In some cases, they are just students. They are not even ready. But they just have to tie the Mangal Sutra in front of them, because they have the right to do so. They think they have the right to do so. Such is the kind of regressive people we have, and this particular part about live-in relationship in Uttarakhand's Uniform Civil Code will accelerate and will increase lot more of this vigilantism, and it is kind of like giving legal sanction for these vigilantes. People who are in a live-in relationship have one important problem, that is for sure, that needs to be addressed, and that is what happens when they break up after having spent years together and after having children. What happens to the children? Does the woman get any kind of maintenance or benefits to take care of the children? She might have lost her whole life for having this children. So what happens in that case? That is a fair question, and that needs to be addressed. But for that, what they have done is not the solution. We should look for examples from the Western countries, especially from United States. In the state of California, couple can go and register themselves who are in live-in relationships. They can get themselves registered as domestic partners. And these domestic partners are not limited to heterosexual couples. It is open to same-sex couples also. Gays and lesbians also can get their relationship registered if they choose to have a live-in relationship. And it is voluntary. It is not mandatory. And when they get that kind of registration done, they have all the benefits, almost all the benefits of a family. They have all the legal protections what a family has. So that is a point of debate, that is a point of discussion, and that can be applied in India also. That is not a problem, but it should be not without any penalizing if they choose not to register. If they choose not to register, they should be allowed to do so, and it should be made voluntary. Without doing that, the current version is extremely problematic and regressive. This needs to go. The second issue is marriage. Many in the north, friends from the north might have not seen, or it would not be a problem in the northern part of India, but in southern part of India, especially in the state of Tamil Nadu, one thing was up for a big discussion and debate. It had a very sharp criticism from many quarters of the society, and that is prohibited relationships. Uniform Civil Code that is brought in Uttarakhand bans certain kind of blood relationships to get married. It all falls under prohibited relationships, which as per the customs and traditions of Tamil Nadu, people of Tamil Nadu, they have been doing that for many years, many eons even. Such kind of relationships are banned now. That is being quite problematic, but that is even not a big deal, because nothing in the list of prohibited relationships is different from the list of prohibited relationships mentioned in the Special Marriage Act. This is something that we already had. Any couple in Tamil Nadu, if they choose to get married under the Special Marriages Act, they would still had to follow this same prohibited relationships list even before this Uniform Civil Code. From 1954, this has been in practice. So, when such is the case, addressing this and making this alone as a big deal would become is unreasonable, because it appears like selective outrage. All these years, close to 7 decades now, are not addressing about this prohibited relationship in Special Marriage Act, but having this outrage only for the Uniform Civil Code is little bit of a problem that needs to be, the people who oppose it should have an introspection in that. Apart from this issue, what else is problem? Nothing, basically, because everything that is being said in the marriage aspect is already covered by many other laws. Registration of marriage is made mandatory. That has always been there for quite many years now. Registration of marriages have been made compulsory, so that is not something that is changed now. And the other thing is, marriage should be done by a male who is 21 years of age and by a female who has crossed 18 years of age. So that is also not a problem, because that has always been the case. And there are some people who even argue this age should be made 21 for both or 18 for both. There are arguments for that, but that is not something that is unique to Uniform Civil Code. That has always been a debate. And how this marriage should be done, it could be done in any custom or any way or form that people choose to. Whatever way they want, they can get themselves married. It is specifically mentioned that people can choose to get married through Saptapadi or Nikah or any other form of marriage that they want, and it covers many various laws of marriage. All that is being accommodated in this Uniform Civil Code. So, how a couple choose to marry is not a problem. They just need to get it registered. That's all there is to it. And only one thing that is going to be a problem for certain communities, that also includes scheduled tribes, and that also includes some sections of Muslims, is this: one person can have only one spouse. That is the change. Apart from that, nothing has changed. And when it comes to one person having only one spouse, this is something that is widely discussed and addressed when it comes to the Muslim community. But when it comes to scheduled tribes, it is not much discussed or much debated. Of course, this applies only to Uttarakhand, but for argument's sake, let's talk about from the country perspective. In India, scheduled tribes from certain parts of the country, especially in the northeast, there are some pockets of communities, some very tiny minority of communities who have matriarchy. In such matriarchal societies, the woman can get married to more than one man. And also there are very few tiny minorities of people, tiny percentage of people in which the man can marry more than one woman. Such is the kind of culture and tradition that they have been following. That will be under jeopardy. That they cannot do anymore. Something that they have always been done, they cannot do it anymore. And the same applies for Muslims also. Although there is a stereotypes that Muslims all marry more than one woman, it is not the case. Very tiny few minority of the people do it. And that tiny few minority of the people, like in Muslims community I'm talking about, very small percentage of people marry more than one woman. Those people cannot do so anymore. Apart from that, there is nothing different or nothing out of the ordinary when it comes to marriage aspect of this Uniform Civil Code. And the same applies for divorce also. Divorces will be determined by the court. When couples choose to get a divorce, they should go to the court and they should present their case. The court will hear and the judge will decide whether they get the divorce or not, and if they are getting the divorce, what is the kind of maintenance that the people should have, and whose custody the children should be under. All this will be decided by the court as per law, as per how it sees, how it deems fit. And finally, let's come to succession. Succession is a problematic area again, and it comes to property. Who gets the property? So, Uniform Civil Code has been vehemently opposed by scheduled tribes also. Many scheduled tribe communities and leaders have opposed Uniform Civil Code, and one of the major reasons that they have said is that in their communities, women do not have rights to property after they get married. Before they get married, they might have, but after they get married, they do not have any inheritance rights in the property. And Uniform Civil Code tries to break that. This is something that will affect our community, that will affect our customs and traditions. This has been the issue of scheduled tribes, and Uniform Civil Code is ensuring the rights of women in property even after they get married. So this is something that despite what scheduled tribes have been following, this is a break. And in certain sections of communities of the Muslim faith, women were not given property rights. After marriage, they do not have any right over property. So, this is Uniform Civil Code is going to break that, and Uniform Civil Code is going to ensure women from Muslim faith, even after they get married, they will have property rights. They will have equal rights as per law. This might appear like, okay, this seems fair, this can be accommodated, this can be done. What is the big fuss about it? The catch here is this does not apply to the scheduled tribes. I know I've been using scheduled tribes example for all these while, because under the assumption that Uniform Civil Code being uniform for everybody, this was the narrative, this was the debate that was always been there. This Uniform Civil Code of Uttarakhand will not apply to the scheduled tribes. Then how is it uniform? Like the very principle of Uniform Civil Code, the very word uniform is not there anymore. When an exclusion can be given to the scheduled tribes, the argument can be made, why not the same exclusion can be given to Muslims, or why not the same exclusion can be given to Sikhs, or why not the same exclusion can be given to Parsis. So such kind of arguments can be made. This version of Uttarakhand's Uniform Civil Code opens doors for that. This also raises questions about the intent and motive behind this exclusion, and also frankly behind this bringing up of Uniform Civil Code. When an exclusion is given to scheduled tribes alone and not Muslims, is it the intent to bring Uniform Civil Code for the progressiveness of such a law, and for something that is being enshrined in the constitution, something that should take us forward? Is it because for that intent Uniform Civil Code is being brought, or just to humiliate Muslims and make them feel like who is in charge? What is the intent? This raises a doubt, because if it had been in such a way that scheduled tribes are also not excluded, anybody and everybody in Uttarakhand should have the same law. If such is the case, these arguments will not take place. This has no place there. The debate will be whether this is fair or not. There are many things that we have abolished by law that was practiced as per traditions and customs of the Hindu faith. And that includes sati, that includes Devadasi system, and many more. Even caste system, the suppression, oppression, and even the untouchability that is enshrined in the caste system, that we have outlawed. Many of the customs and traditions of the Hindu faith have been, if they do not hold true for this 21st century and for basic human decency and dignity, if that is a hindrance, we have outlawed them. So the same can be done for other faiths also. We should not have any two thoughts about it. If something is not fair, if something is not just, if something is not in line with what we see as social justice, if something is not in line with the standards of 21st century values or modern values of modern human values, all those things should go. They have no place in a modern civilized society. They have no place in a modern democracy. So that is not up for debate, that is not up for considerations. So whatever is in not line with these things, they should go. And when an uniform civil code comes, it should come in such a way, it should come with an open mind, it should come with no biases, it should come with a liberal and progressive value, and it should come with equality in mind. If such essence is not followed, then why bring uniform civil code in the first place? This version of uniform civil code, which is not at all uniform, and this version of uniform civil code, which is very regressive, especially when it comes to how it deals with the live-in couples, this version needs to go. It needs fixing. If it cannot be done, this needs to go. This has no place in our society. Having said all this, there are some people out there like Asaduddin Owaisi who come out and tell the Muslim people that this uniform civil code is going to make the Muslims live like Hindus. They are forced to follow some other religion that they are not originally from. But all these are just fear mongering and talking excessive, like making excessive claims. This particular law talks about only three specific aspects, and given the traditional and conservative society that the Muslims are live in, is not part of it for the most part, except for some few exceptions here and there. The topic that needs to be addressed is marriage, divorce, and succession. Apart from this, there is nothing else that is discussed in Uniform Civil Code. If somebody comes and tells you that Uniform Civil Code is the deal breaker for Muslims and it is going to be something that should make every Muslim worry and it should be the only thing that Muslims should be opposed against, that is misguided and ill informed, because we have a problem in India, that is, Muslims are living in danger. Muslims face a lot of prejudice in their day to day life. They don't get houses for rent, they don't get employment, they don't have the same social safety net that other communities enjoy. There is always a connotation where the bad guy would be the Muslim, and there are people, there are elements that keep fueling this hatred and making this gap and divide wider and wider. And this group calls for extermination of Muslims, this group calls for genocide of Muslims. Those are the real threats, those are the real danger that Muslims face. Apart from talking about all these things, if anybody says like how Muslims are going to marry is going to be a problem because of Uniform Civil Code, and how Muslims are going to divorce will be something that is danger for Muslims, that is completely misguided, and we are choosing the wrong battle to fight. The real battle lies in the prejudice and hatred that is being spread in the community apart amongst Hindus and Muslims. That is the real threat, and if anybody focuses your attention towards something else, you have to be watchful about them. Thank you.